Chelsea Football Club, a club synonymous with success, silverware and swagger. But in 2025, under Enzo Maresca, the Blues look like anything but contenders. What has gone wrong at Chelsea? Was appointing Enzo Maresca ever the right call, or was it a mistake from day one? Since Roman Abramovich's era ended, Chelsea has cycled through 7 permanent managers in just 6 seasons, creating a culture of instability that very few top clubs can tolerate. Under new owners Todd Boehly and Clear Lake Capital, the mandate was clear: build for long-term success, but with Premier League glory as the immediate goal. Now, into this pressure cooker stepped in Enzo Maresca, a relatively young coach with promise but no Premier League resume. The season started well, of course. Chelsea only lost 2 of their first 16 Premier League games, winning 10 of them. But since beating Brentford 2-1 at Stamford Bridge on the 15th of December, they've won only 5 of the following 16 games, failing to beat relegation battlers Ipswich Town twice, losing at home to Fulham, and of course losing at home to Legia Warsaw in the Europa Conference League just a couple of days ago. They sit 6th in the Premier League table, and they are a point off Manchester City in 5th, who are rounding off into some form, I must say. There is real danger that they may not play Champions League football again next season. Now, let's talk about Enzo Maresca. Maresca's CV before appointment as Chelsea boss boasted roles under Pep Guardiola at Manchester City as kind of like his assistant, and of course a championship title with Leicester City in 2024. However, he had no single top-flight experience, and for Chelsea supporters who are accustomed to high-profile managers like Jose Mourinho, like Carlo Ancelotti, like Thomas Tuchel, etc., even like Mauricio Pochettino, who was the last manager before Maresca was hired, hiring an untested manager felt like a gamble at best and an error at worst, and it may eventually prove to be the latter. Chelsea needed a leader who was equipped to handle a squad that was brimming with stars and brimming with egos. But Enzo Maresca's championship success did not guarantee that he could navigate the cutthroat demands of Europe's most intense leagues. And critics pointed out that promotion campaigns and mid-table consolidation are a far cry from battling for top 4 and competing on multiple fronts in the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and for them this season in the UEFA Europa Conference League. And appointing a coach who had never managed outside England's second tier raised immediate doubts at the time. But like I said earlier, Chelsea fans were promised that it's a long-term project to buy players for the long term, so we get a manager for the long term, and then let's see how it goes. And now, there's something very important that almost pretty much set up Enzo Maresca to fail. Now, Maresca built his reputation on possession-heavy, build from the back at all costs football. This is a system that relies on technically adept defenders and that have flawless decision-making under pressure. However, Chelsea's backline regularly cracks under pressing opponents, leading to unforced errors and goals conceded. In fact, Chelsea have made, listen to this, 41 errors leading to shots in the Premier League this season. Only relegated Southampton have made more. And Chelsea has also attempted build-up 115 times this season, and it has only resulted into a goal 2 times. So it is clear that for whatever reason, it is not working. Every time a Chelsea player repeatedly surrenders position in dangerous areas, it's not just individual mistakes. It exposes a deeper mismatch between Enzo Maresca's blueprint and the players at his disposal. It is crystal clear that these players cannot cope with the demands that Enzo Maresca is placing on them. Now, it's a different topic of discussion if these demands are not the right demands that Maresca should be placing on these players. But at least that was his style of play. And the owners knew that that was his style of play before employing him. So appointing him and then not giving him the players to, play that style of play is pretty much setting him up to fail. Now, another issue with Enzo Maresca and Chelsea is his dressing room and fan relations. Now, he stepped into a dressing room full of established international, and it demands just more than tactics. It requires authority. It requires rapport. Maresca's blunt criticism of fans after the 2-2 draw with Ipswich Town last week, where he was kind of blaming the atmosphere for the poor performance of the team. It was, if I'm going to call it anything, I'll call it self-sabotage. I think it was him just pointing out to his own flaws more than anything else. because for many supporters, it confirmed that he lacked the stature to unite the club. But instead, he's dividing it. Like I said at the start of the video, Chelsea fans have always been drawn to charismatic managers. I mean, they fell in love with Jose Mourinho. In fact, I dare say that many Chelsea fans who started supporting Chelsea at the turn of the 21st century did so because of the charisma of the likes of Jose Mourinho. And that charisma that Jose Mourinho had rubbed off on the players. He had the likes of Frank Lampard, John Terry. These players were charismatic. These were the players, Didier Drogba. These were the players that embodied that Chelsea spirit, that carries on from the pitch even to the stands and to the fans all around the world. But they don't have that in Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca is not charismatic, at least not even close to the levels of the kinds of managers they've had before. Chelsea fans loved Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel was charismatic. He understood the pressures of managing in a club like Chelsea, a club that demands success at all times. But Enzo Maresca is way short of that level. Reports suggest that Chelsea's hierarchy saw Enzo Maresca as a young and developing coach available at a bargain price, and that mirrored their approach to player recruitment. But at a club where trophies are non-negotiable, a project manager without top-level success can quickly become a liability, as we are quickly finding out. What was the gamble? A low fee, a high-ceiling appointment, but the stakes were always too high to back such an unproven talent, especially without giving him the requisite resources in terms of his kinds of players, not just in terms of spending money, because they spend a lot of money, but in terms of his kind of players to make his style of play work. So great, you brought in a coach without top-level experience, but has a distinct style of play, and he requires specialists, like I said earlier, to play his brand of football. So what did you sign? You signed Pedro Neto. You signed João Felix, who is, of course, now on loan to Milan. You signed Kenan Dewsbury-Hall. You signed Philip Jorgensen. You signed Maguire. You signed Tosin Adarabioyo. And, of course, you signed the freedom fighter, Jadon Sancho. Of all these players, none of them actually screams quality. Quite a few of them screams potential, but not ready-made quality. None of them even points out to any proper footballing strategy in recruitment. It just looks like, oh, they identify this player, get him. Identify this player, get him. Identify this player, get him. What is the scouting report? Why are you signing this player? What role does this player fulfill in the team? The team looks bereft of any sort of transfer strategy, and it is showing on the pitch. For the billion that they have spent, they still rely on Cole Palmer for creativity. And when he struggles, like he has been struggling for a while, the team is found out. So when you get a manager who was Pep Guardiola's assistant, whose style of play is quite similar to that of Pep Guardiola, who is, of course, needless to say, bald like Pep Guardiola, and you want him to deliver Pep Guardiola's results, but you did not properly invest, in it, not just spending money lavishly, because that's what they did, but talking about a strategic investment, just the way Manchester City did for Pep Guardiola, signing specific kinds of players to fit into the strategy that Pep Guardiola was trying to implement at the club. I made a video sometime last year on the Manchester City's transfer strategy and how effective it has been for them and why it has led to Manchester City being so successful over the years. Chelsea did not do that. They just got a manager that looks like Pep Guardiola, that has worked under Pep Guardiola, that plays a similar style of play, give him $1 billion, buy all manner of players, and expect him to deliver. No, it's not going to work. So while this is a video questioning Enzo Maresca's fitness or ability to lead Chelsea to the promised land, it is also putting a major, probably the biggest question mark on Todd Boehly and the Clearlake Capital Consortium for the very dodgy decisions that they have made since they became owners of the club. Now, I must say that there is still a real chance for Chelsea to get into the Champions League by finishing 5th and or win the Europa Conference League, but the performances are a problem. Disorganized defense, lethargic attack, tactical rigidity, and it has reinforced the narrative that Enzo Maresca was never really the right fit for the club. A coach untested at this level is just, simply being exposed on the grandest stage. So from Sky Sports to Talk Sports to local fan podcasts to blogs, the consensus has been brutal. Choosing Enzo Maresca over a seasoned name was a strategic error. Sacking Mauricio Pochettino, I believe, was a mistake, especially after the progress he made at the tail end of last season. The club pretty much sacrificed stability for a cheap developmental choice, only to find themselves paying a higher price on the pitch. Now, Todd Boehly and co have proven themselves to be trigger happy, and they may well fire the Italian manager regardless of what happens. And if you ask me, I would think they would be justified, because the Chelsea faithful are losing patience, not just with the manager, but with the owners as well. And as Boehly and Clearlake make their next move, contemplate the next move they're going to make, the lesson to learn from this is clear. When you're pursuing long-term projects, don't lose sight of the immediate demands of competing at the top of European football. I mean, it's so important. You want to build a project, ensure that you're able to keep the fans satisfied for the now. If not, I mean, you might find yourself in the kind of situation that Enzo Maresca finds himself at Chelsea right now. So what do you think? Was Enzo Maresca doomed from the start? Or, I mean, could he still prove the doubters wrong? I mean, if he wins the Conference League or qualifies for Champions League, I mean, does that mean that he should stay on as Chelsea boss? Or are you, as a Chelsea fan, totally dissatisfied with him and just want him to go? What do you think? Drop your thoughts below. And hit like if you enjoyed this deep dive. Subscribe for more uncompromising analysis, I would call it that, of the biggest stories in football today. This is the Football Slides TV. Thanks for watching. There's more to come, so subscribe, like the video, comment, drop a comment, and click on the notifications bell so that you get notified when there's content on the channel as well. We put out content at least twice every week. This is the Football Slides TV. See you on the next video.